Hello, I'm Alec from Bavarian Games, and in this video, I'll teach you how to play our first game, Terra Proxima. Terra Proxima is a 3 to 6 player, push your luck and resource management game, where the objective is to be the first to reach the center planet, Terra Proxima. This video will cover the basics of how to play, so that you'll be able to jump into your first game very easily. First, let's talk about setup. To start, place the board within reach of everyone, and then gather the decks of cards, sorted by type, and place them nearby, along with the 2 types of tokens separated into respective piles. This will be our general supply, which we'll refer to as the salvage yard. To finish setting this up, take the system repair cards, which have this cog symbol on them, and give them a shuffle. Next, give each player 1 long-range cruiser, 2 scout ships, and 1 base in the color of their choice. You'll also give them a starting hand consisting of 1 of each planetary material, the backs of which have the Terra Proxima logo, along with 1 +1 card and 1 defense card. At this point, randomly determine the first player, and have them place their long-range cruiser on any 1 of the 6 starting launch pads. The rest of the players will be placed on specific launch pads based on the number of players. For 3 players, you will use every other launch pad. For 4 players, the second player will be to the direct left of the first, and the third and fourth will be in opposite corners of the first and second respectively. Finally, for 5 to 6 players, simply use the next available launch pad in clockwise order. At this point, give each player 1 system repair card, and you are ready to begin play. Now, before we get into gameplay, there are a few rules to go over regarding the material cards. Material cards come in 2 types, lunar and planetary. Lunar materials are double-sided and remain on the table in front of the player that possesses them. Planetary materials have the Terra Proxima back and are kept in a player's hand. Lunar materials can also be refined into planetary materials, ores into metal or fuel, organics into food or medicine, and water into drinking water or oxygen. One more rule to keep in mind is that there is a limit to the number of materials you can have at any one point. At most, players may only have up to 8 lunar materials and up to 8 planetary materials. This means you can have both 8 lunar and 8 planetary at one time, but no more than 8 of either type. This is referred to as the weight limit, and it must be complied with at all times. Now let's talk about gameplay. Turns are broken up into 2 phases, the production phase and the action phase. For each player's first turn, you will skip the production phase. To carry out the production phase, the active player will roll both dice, and materials will be given to all players who are on a planet or moon that share a number shown on the dice, 1 material for each piece. However, if a double is rolled, an EMP attempt has occurred and must be resolved. To resolve an EMP attempt, first check how many EMP tokens the active player has. If less than 2, the attempt is successful, and the active player will produce once for each die, while all other players produce nothing. And the active player will get to steal 1 planetary material or up to 2 lunar material from any player they wish. Give this player an EMP token to symbolize a successful attempt. If they have 2 tokens, however, the attempt has backfired. They will lose 2 planetary material cards and will not produce that turn, while all others will produce once for each die. Return the EMP tokens they have to the salvage yard. Next is the action phase. During it, players will take as many actions as they can or wish to. These actions are move, build, trade, and attack. To move, players must pay a planetary material, 2 matching lunar materials, or one of each unique lunar material. This allows every ship they have, including ones built later in the turn, to move 3 spaces from where they are. Players can pay for a second move as well. The second move allows one ship to gain an additional 3 spaces and use a wormhole to jump to any other matching wormhole during their move. You can also earn the ability to pay for a third move by winning an attack, and it works the same as the second move. For a player's first turn, the move action must be taken first, and wormholes cannot be used. Next is the build action. Once a turn, a player may build either a scout ship or a base. Bases are built for free, while scout ships require 1 ore-based planetary material, 1 organic-based planetary material, and 1 water-based planetary material to build. These pieces are built on a space that contains one of the player's ships. Players can also build research tokens. 1 of each planetary material is needed to build them. These will allow you to continue your journey. 1 research token will allow a player's long-range cruiser to move past the asteroid belt. 3 will allow players to move past the nebula, and 7 will allow players to land on Terra Proxima. The third action is trade. Players can either trade with each other, trading any cards for any other cards, so long as the weight limit is followed, or players may trade with the salvage yard. To trade with the salvage yard, players may trade 2 matching lunar materials for 1 corresponding planetary material, or they may trade 3 planetary materials for any 1 other planetary material. The last action is attack. Once per turn, if a player has a ship 3 or less spaces away from an opponent's piece, and has at least 1 planetary material or 2 matching lunar materials, they may attack. To carry out an attack, both players roll 1 die, the attacker rolling first, and the highest result wins. If the attacker wins, they will receive materials based on the space the defender was on. If a planet, they'll receive 2 corresponding planetary materials. If a moon, 4 corresponding lunar materials. The defender will forfeit a planetary material and must move the attacked piece, if a ship, into an adjacent empty space tile. If the defender wins, the attacker must forfeit 1 planetary or 2 matching lunar materials, and the attacking ship may no longer move for the rest of the turn. If the attack ends in a draw, no one loses any materials, and the turn continues as normal. Players can also increase their chances of winning in an attack. The attacker can gain support from one other player by having them wager 1 planetary or 2 matching lunar materials. This adds a point to the attacking roll, and, if successful, the supporter will get a free planetary material of their choice. The defender can increase their roll by using their defense card. This will add 3 points to their roll, and will give the defender a free planetary material if the defense is successful, but it can only be used once. Or, if the defense card goes unused, any research tokens the defender has more than the attacker will add a point to the defender's roll, up to 2 additional points. The first player to gather 7 research tokens, complete the repair listed on their system repair card, and move on to Terra Proxima wins the game. And that's the basics of how to play Terra Proxima. Because this was a simplified rules explanation, not every rule was covered, such as certain move and build restrictions. In the future, we will release a more in-depth version of this video that will cover every rule in specific detail, including how to play our team variant, Allied Mode. Terra Proxima launches on Kickstarter on April 6th. If you wish to support our campaign, you can find the link to our Kickstarter page in the video's description. And in the meantime, if you want to try out Terra Proxima for yourself, you can do so for free on Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator. The links of both can again be found in the video's description. Thank you so much for watching.